You do your homework?
I wouldn't lie though. I wasn't gonna lie.
All right, here we go. This is a sixth motivational gift, okay? It's the ruler, motivated person. We can find this in Romans chapter 12 and verse 8. The ruler's function can be likened to an orchestra conductor. He or she stands before the orchestra and directs the music. Although the conductor might not necessarily know how to play every instrument, he or she can read and interpret the music well enough to direct it. What is the symbol for the ruler motivated person?
The head.
The head. He's correct. Okay, read the first paragraph on that.
The symbol for the ruler / organizer is the head. This person is a planner. He has a unique quality to plan and organize. He is motivated and motivates others to accomplish the vision and goals given by God. God is a God of order. The Bible says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void. Genesis 1 and 2. God likes to put things in orders, and so does the ruler motivated person.
Okay, so what's the first question in our piece in dealing with the ruler motivated person?
What is the Greek word and definition for ruler?
What's the definition for ruler?
Person that stands before, or person that is to be over, to direct and manage, organizer, planner.
An organizer. See, Luke, in the book of Luke, or Luke himself, the beloved physician, he set things in order. You know, his God-given skill was applied in the arena of authorship, and he chronologized the Gospel of Luke in the book of Acts. And if you can look at that, you'll see in Luke 1, turn to Luke chapter 1, verse 1 through 4. I'm going to read the New Century Version, and it says, you ready? It says, many have tried to report on the things that happened among us. They have written the same things that we learned from others. The people who saw those things from the beginning and served God by telling people his message, since I myself have studied everything carefully from the beginning, most excellent Theophilus, it seemed good for me to write it out for you. I arranged it in order to help you know that what you have been taught is true. Things are always placed in order. Jesus predetermined his time of death. During the Passover is when he did that. He also predetermined his mode of death. Not only during his mode of death, it was the crucifixion. The purpose of his death was to destroy the works of the devil and redeem mankind. He foretold his resurrection and the coming of the Holy Spirit's ministry. You have to understand that in the predetermination of his death during the Passover, the crucifixion, and destroying the works of the enemy, everything was in order. Now, what are some of the pitfalls of the ruler motivated person? The danger of the ruler motivated person.
The danger of pride, and the ruler motivated person enters into danger of pride when he begins to think more highly of himself than he ought to think. He is in danger of pride when he thinks that he is better than others because of his motivating giftings. The ruler motivated person, like all the others, has to be careful not to operate in pride. Pride is what causes Satan to fall, and it will do the same to us. The devil uses pride to cause us to fall out of the will of God. This person has to be careful not to operate in pride about how he rules. He tends to fall into traps of having superior attitude and making others feel stupid and inferior.
So some of the dangers of the ruler motivated person we can look at the manner in which they rule, thinking others as subservient. We can also look at the lack of diligence, valuing the project more than the people. Or we can look at the manner in which they serve the Lord, not serving like the Lord serves. So a lot of people say they're servants, but a lot of this stuff is slothfulness because they want other folks to do it. You know, we want to just task or manage or overload someone else with the task. Makes sense. So when you are a ruler, you can rule well or you can overrule. And God wants us to rule well. Any questions? You got a question? You got a question? We have a book for you as well. Look at that and give her a book, please.
This is Salida. Salida, this is Dr. Harvey. This is
How are you?
Doreen. I'm John. I don't know his first name. Okay.
Now, being that we went through here and we recapped the dangers, is pride, seeing others as subservient. It should be a small book. The lack of diligence, valuing the project more than the people, and over-delegating, and not serving like the Lord serves. But we don't want to stop at just the pitfalls and the dangers. We also want to look at the delight. And the delight is the function of the grace-gifted ruler. And they somewhat are akin to a traffic cop. They delight in directing. You have to enjoy what you do. Why do it if you don't enjoy it? Does that make sense? So now that we went through that, go to question number 2.
Number 3.
Yes.
Name at least 2 biblical examples of a ruler-motivated person.
2 biblical examples of the ruler-motivated individual. What can we come up with?
Nehemiah.
Nehemiah. What do you got?
Jethro.
Jethro. Took out the book. What do you got?
I was going to say Nehemiah in the book.
So we have Nehemiah and Jethro. What did Jethro do that was so keen and so precise when it came to Moses? What did he do? Go ahead, brother.
He the one that told Moses, don't tend yourself, but to put everything in order by tens, by hundreds, and by thousands.
Because Moses wasn't good at
Very
doing that.
organized.
And he's the one that helped him. Yeah.
Say that again.
That wasn't his strong point. And Jethro was the person that came and like encouraged him and showed him how to do it and taught him how to organize everything and get everything in order to move.
So Jethro brought order.
Yes.
Humbly.
Hmm?
Brought it humbly. He didn't.
He brought
Moses
order
feel.
humbly. So he brought the order just right. So in the same sense or the same text, we can see that Jethro also gave Moses wisdom. That, man, you're going to burn yourself out trying to do all this by yourself. Correct? So God not only gives us wisdom as rulers, but he also gives us the order and the structure through the wisdom to carry it out. You good with me? He's like, yeah. Now, it was brought to my attention that we have a handout that we didn't go over. And what else? What we're supposed to go over? We got the 2 questions, but let's hit the handout first because we're kind of like racing through time right now. I don't know if I have to get you the handout after this. So we want the handout, and we also want to go over the 2 questions. Now, I don't want y'all pulling when we get to these questions, because these questions really are deep when we really look at it from those guys. Everybody got the stuff? You feel like you're fumbling, brother. You got the stuff? No. I kind of figured that. What is, all right, from the worksheet, what we are working on?
There's 3 of them.
Wow.
The calling.
Okay, what questions do you have on the calling? We're going to address that. Because we're going to address the questions on the calling. Then we're going to do the 2 questions. And we'll deal with why we preach next week. What questions do you have on the call? Because we did not go over that, and we were supposed to go there last week. The call. You don't have that?
No, I don't. I have God orchestrated it, the anatomy of a message, and oh, do I have it? Oh, I do have it. I
Okay.
got it.
What questions do you have?
I have a question, a couple of them. On the first one where it says the calling is, the invitation from the Lord in the form of a mandate, is that like you're entering into a covenant with God?
Say that
When you're
again.
called,
Say that out loud.
invitation from the Lord in the form of a mandate. He is not only inviting you, but he is telling you to do something. Is that like a covenant, or is it?
It's an invitation.
It's not an agreement between.
The calling. It's an invitation from God in the form of a mandate. He's inviting you and he's telling you to do something. Remember we said that everybody is called? Everybody's called to do something in ministry. You have the ministry of helps. You have all these things that people are called to do. But when you start moving into the arena of being called to the fivefold, that's a different story. Because now you're moving into the gifts of actually growing folks up. It's a gift for the ministry. And so in this one, it's actually, we're not dealing with just a regular call or just a call to the ministry, a call to help, a call to serve. This is actually the call into the fivefold. And so you have to qualify for this call. Not only is it an invitation, I'm inviting you into this. See, God has given us an invite, but he's also given us a mandate. Not only am I calling you, I'm inviting you, and I'm giving you an order to qualify for what I called you to do. Now that's amazing. I'm inviting you, but I'm also giving you an order. I need you to qualify for what I called you to do. And so, did I answer your question? What else do you have?
Where it says everyone has a call on their life on the second page. However, in this call, we're looking primarily at the fivefold ministry, apostles, prophets.
And I said that in the beginning. Everyone has a call on their life, but this particular call is primarily with the fivefold ministry, with the apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers, and you can find that in Ephesians 4 and 11. And this is the thing that most people have to understand. When you enter into the fivefold, you enter into the gifts, and you become, once you're qualified, once you're equipped, once you're chosen, once you're made, built, and separated, then you're operating as a Doma gift. And a Doma gift is what we need to mature the ministry. And you'll find that in Ephesians 4 and 8. But it's used to mature the body.
Like, can you give an example of a Doma gift?
Doma gift, anything within that fivefold, where you see the apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers, those are your Doma gifts.
What's the difference between that and the Doria gift?
What's the difference between that and a Doria? Read the definition for Doria.
Gifts of Christ, gift of the Holy Spirit. Wouldn't that be the same as
Your Doria is the gifts of Christ. That's the gift Christ gives you. The Doma is what Christ made you for the body. See,
So you have to have the Doria gift to
you
have
got to
the
be
Doma.
made a minister. You just can't be a minister. We all minister, but you just can't be in the fivefold. You have to be called, equipped, chosen, made, built, structured, separated. I mean, all of that comes with being made. And so when you become a Doma gift, you grow the body up. help them grow. You're teaching them. You know, that's where you got your apostles. You set things in order. You have your evangelists. They're out evangelizing. You know, soul winning. You have your pastors. They're shepherding. Because they're the under shepherds from the chief shepherd. And they're shepherding. And they're ushering people in. And they're teaching as well. So the fivefold is made for the body. Grow them up. Folks need to grow up. A lot of folks not growing up. A lot of folks not growing up. Is that it? I don't want to go past the time. What we got? What you got?
2030.
All right, good. We got 15 minutes. Now let's move to those two homework questions real quick. We'll dive into the anatomy and finish out the call next week. But let's dive into those two homework questions. What was the first homework question you all had?
What did the three boys say when they were thrown in
Okay,
the fiery furnace?
we need to dig into that, because this right here, this is going to be good. This is going to be very good. Now, who got the answer? You got the answer?
Yes.
I know the answer.
You know the answer by heart?
Y'all know the answer by heart.
Verbatim.
Verbatim.
Okay, well, what is it?
You think you know it? If he missed one.
If I missed one word.
Okay. All right. Well, what happened? Give me the three things that they said, and who said it? Who said this stuff?
They did.
Who's they?
Who said, what'd you say?
Who said it?
Meshach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
She laughed. She's like, ooh.
I wasn't gonna do the Medea thing, but Abednego.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yes.
They all said this
In unison.
in unison,
Well, I don't know if it was in unison, but they all said it.
but they all said it.
Yes.
What did they say?
Go ahead, let's hear this verbatim.
Come on, sis, you give it to me because he don't have it verbatim.
Okay, hold on, stop. They said this.
What they say?
They said, whether our God delivers us from the fire or we burn, we will still praise Him.
Okay, that's not verbatim. But you did all right.
That's not verbatim?
Come on, sis, what you got?
Well, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied, and this is in Daniel 3:16 through 18.
Okay.
Oh, Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God whom we serve is able to save us. He will rescue us from your power, your majesty. But even if he doesn't, we want to make it clear to you, your majesty, that we would never serve your gods or worship the gold statue that you have set up.
Here's the three things I want you to focus on. You ready? Because I told you we like to read and run through,
Surface.
but we really got to pause sometime and see exactly what's being said. This is what they said. If it be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning, fiery furnace. That's the first thing they said. The second thing they said was, He will deliver us out of thine hand, O King.
It wasn't King James.
That's the second thing they said.
Yes.
The third thing they said, but if not, be it known unto thee, O King, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image thou hast set up. First thing they said, He's able to deliver us. So they testified that God is able to deliver them. The second thing they said, He will deliver us out of thine hand. The first thing, God is able. Second thing, He will. The third thing, but if not. What was so significant about those three things they said? We know it made the king angry. But the first thing, they testified that God is able. The second thing, they were sure He will deliver us out of your hand. They didn't say, see, first they said He's able to take us from the furnace. They didn't say He will. They said He's able. If He wants to, He's able. The second thing they said was, He will deliver us out of thine hand. They still didn't say the furnace. They said His hand, His rule, His authority. Third thing, if not. Be it known. If He doesn't do the first two, we settled the issue. A lot of people have not settled the issue. They look at their situation, they look at those issues, and they say, well, God can fix it. Or they say, oh, God gonna fix this. And then no one ever says, but if not. But if not, you know, they pray for healing. God can heal you. God's going to heal you. But how do you say, but if He don't even heal you?
That closure.
When you settle the issue, you've given God supreme authority. It doesn't matter. He's God. He holds everything in the palm of His hand. Whatever He wants to do, that's what these guys said. Whatever He wants to do, He has the power to do it. And we're okay with whatever decision He makes. That's what they say. We're okay with that.
Confidence.
Now the king didn't like that.
No, he was.
The king became furious because here I have people that won't bow down to me because I'm in leadership. They confessing a God that I don't even know. They're talking back to me like they the king. In front of all my people. You got to realize everybody was out there. So, let me show you what the king does. We're going to speed this up just for the sake of time. Y'all know y'all looking all
No,
crazy.
we're fine. No surface. We can go deep.
No, but here's the thing that I want you to look at. They said, but if not, you know, we settle the issue, king. We're still not going to serve your God. We're still not going to serve your God. No matter what you say, what they were saying, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, we still not going to serve your God. That was powerful. They were talking back to the king. King didn't like that. Let's see what the king did. The king commanded, not just some of his, he commanded the most mighty men that was in his army. Go ahead, what you got?
Well, I was going to say, he did heat the oven up 7 times more than it was supposed to be.
We ain't got that
But that's in the book.
yet. Yeah, he was so angry. You gotta realize these Hebrew boys from Judah, they ain't no big, scroungy, muscular guys. He said, oh, okay, go get my mightiest men, strong guys. Go get the biggest guys I got. Heat the furnace up 7 times hot. These guys want to talk back to me in front of the folks. I got something for them. Keep this in mind. He went and got his mighty men in his army to bind them and to cast them in the fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, they had their hats on, their garments, and they were cast into the midst of the fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire slew the men that took Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And when it's, now keep in mind, they're bringing them to the furnace, the mighty men. The fire jumps out of the furnace.
Yes, sir.
If you're bringing someone to a furnace, where's the person that you're taking to the furnace? Where are you? They're in front of you. The fire missed them and burnt up the folks, the mighty men. Now keep in mind, they're bound, hand and feet. It burns up the guards or the mighty men, and then they fall into the furnace. Bound. I want you to see this picture I'm painting. And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down into the midst of the fiery furnace. Then the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. He answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose. They were bound going in. He said, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. This is a king that all the way up, if you go back, he made an image, and he wanted them to worship it. But you got to look at this in verse in the latter verse of 15. Just look at the latter verse of 15. He said, Ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? See, that's what man, that's what the world sees. Who is this God that's going to deliver you from me? I'm over you. I'm above you. How you going to get out of my clutches? I'm the king. This is what they was thinking. But now you have the king saying, man, I see 4 men. We threw 3 in there. I see 4, and one looks like the Son of God. How can this king know what the Son of God looks like? Go ahead, bro.
You look at radiant or vibrant. When they say Son of God, it could be an angel in there. It was a vibrant look. It was you see 3 guys that look like this, and one guy obviously is radiant. Yeah, angelic. He's radiant.
So God gives him a glimpse of something to come.
Sometimes evil people's eyes need to be open.
The 4th is like the Son of God. He didn't say the 4th is like an angel, did he? He said the 4th is like the Son of God. Got on that.
How did you know what the Son of God looked like?
What you got on that?
I was thinking the same thing. How does he know?
God
He knows what God looks like.
God gave him a glimpse of who he was and what his son looks like. Nebuchadnezzar was the only one looking in there. Nobody else saw that but him. Did not we throw 3 men in here? I see 4. And one looks like the Son of God. Even in this life, the only way some people will see Jesus is through your obedience and your diligence. No matter what. It's the only way they're going to see you. And if you don't remain obedient, and if you don't remain pure and a servant of the living God, how will they ever see Christ? Sometimes the only Christ people see is the Christ in you. Through these 3 men, God allowed him to see the Son of God. Let's finish this one, so we'll go to the next question and close this thing out, because y'all trying to pull on me. And he said, the fourth like the Son of God. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the furnace, and he spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God. That's verse 26. Verse 15, he said, who is that God? That's what he said, did he not?
And who is that God that should deliver?
Who is that God that's going to deliver you out of my hands? Verse 25, he says, I see a fourth man, and he looked like the Son of God. Verse 26, he's saying, servants of the Most High God, come forth. This man has changed his entire testimony.
Is it just not real?
It's something about when you see Jesus, you can't stay the same. You just can't stay the same. When you have an encounter with Jesus, you can't stay the same. People, they want to get you down, but they can't figure out, why you still joyful? Why are you so happy? They don't get it. Whatever happened, God allows it. See, they could have taken that situation the wrong way and messed up the testimony. Hey, look, we're not going to serve your image, and whatever God want to do, let him do it. We still not going to serve your image or worship it. And through that testimony of steadfastness, they wasn't just being disrespectful, they were honoring their God. How many of you would quit when the heat is on? How many people will back out when it's turned up 7 times hotter?
Okay. When you make a statement like you made earlier, like whether or not he saved us, whenever you make that statement, you got to go through with it. It's like it's going down.
Oh, it was already real.
Yeah.
Because he said when the music played, if you don't bow, we're throwing you in there. So they played the music. They didn't bow. They started talking trash. Oh, king, he's able to deliver us from the fiery furnace. And he will deliver us from your hand. But if not, we still not going to serve your calf.
I'm gonna wear the view.
So, win, lose, or draw, we still not bowing. And that's what they literally told him.
But that's a win.
That's a win-win. The king was like, you talking to me like this in front of all of my counselors? In front of all the people that's bowing down? You're breaking my decree? King wasn't having it. So he went and got his mightiest men. The fire just consumed them. Then the 3 boys fell into the furnace. He goes to the furnace, and he see 4 loose when 3 were thrown in there bound. Who is this God that's going to deliver you? Was the first thing he said. The second thing he said was, I see a 4th man, he looks like the Son of God. Then you go in verse 26, and he says, you servants of the Most High God. You got a man worshiping God. He started out playing music and bowing down to the calf, and before sun went down, he's calling service of the Most High God. But he didn't stop there. Let's go. Let's see what. See, their testimony moved the king from wondering who was their God to knowing. And the princes and the governors and the captains and the king's counselors being gathered together, all these people was outside, saw these men, upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was a hair on their head singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them. Then said Nebuchadnezzar, blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who hath sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted him. How many of y'all trust God? You got to trust him. We have to move into the arena trusting. Then he said, and have changed the king's word and yielded their bodies that they might not serve nor worship any god except their own. See, he had a decree that said they had to serve what he had built, what he had made. But in those days, kings didn't just change decrees. He said, man, y'all done changed my word. Y'all ain't worshiping nothing but your own God. But he went a little further. Therefore, I make a decree that every people, nation, language, which speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces. And their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God that can deliver after this sort. How powerful was that? A man who said, who is this God? And came out to be the biggest evangelist. Shadrach, Meshach, this ain't nothing. This man doing all the testifying about their God. You can have a life of Christ that will be so luminous that it will cause people to see Christ and testify that that is the only true and living God. Your life. It's your life that's the letter. Let's go to the last question, and we're going to close. What was the last question?
Yeah, what the king said to the guards.
That was you got one that's dealing with Daniel.
What did the king prophetically say prior to
Prophetically
Daniel
say
coming out of the
prior to
cave?
Daniel coming out. What we got? What's the answer? What's the okay? Nobody don't have the answer. Let's go. Let's go see what the king said.
I have.
Yeah, you tried to read it.
No, I have it, but when I got it, when I
Now
typed
that
it,
was
it a different version.
Nebuchadnezzar. Listen, that was Nebuchadnezzar. And that was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now we have Daniel. See, you had them with the furnace. Now we have Daniel with the den. The lion's den. So what you have is Daniel, who was set over a province. He was actually at the gate of the king. He sat at the gate while all the others were over cities. And so he's sitting at the gate, and then these men wanted to find an occasion against Daniel, but the only thing they could get was the law concerning his God. So they assembled themselves together, and then they went to the king and provoked him to do something that they knew Daniel would not do. So in the midst of that, Daniel had a choice to serve his God and continue to pray as he prayed before, or to honor what the decree was. What happened that caused Daniel to go into the den?
What did
Go
Daniel
ahead.
do?
Go ahead.
Daniel did not serve his God, did not worship. Daniel got caught for worshiping his God during midday.
See, Daniel knew, in verse 10 it says, now when Daniel knew the writing was signed, and he went up to his house. See, the decree was signed in writing, according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, they had to be put in the lion's den. So they were trying to get Daniel not to pray for 30 days to his God. Daniel knew it was written, but he went as he had done all before, and he prayed. Now they went and told the king. And they said, King, now you said this was so. And everybody got to follow this. And so what had happened was that they went and conspired against Daniel.
Because they saw him praying in his house.
They saw him
3
praying.
times a day.
They knew they was going to catch him praying. Why? They didn't like him. Why? They was jealous. They was envious. Daniel was esteemed. He was preferred amongst all of them. Daniel was chosen, but Daniel had to go to Nebuchadnezzar and say, hey, don't forget Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He put them in office. Daniel was chosen. He put them in office and over cities in Babylon and stuff like that. So they all, God gave those 4 boys, you know, gifts and spirit and understanding and wisdom, but he gave Daniel the ability to interpret dreams. So when you look at this, Daniel's in the den, and the king heard the words that the people had brought back to him. Now his heart's failing him. Because why? He loved Daniel.
Yes.
He loved Daniel. And he like, man, these guys have set me up against Daniel. The guy that's been keeping things straight. The guy that I can trust amongst all these people. With a right spirit. Then the king, in verse 14, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself. Because he didn't catch it. Because he knew Daniel prayed. He said, I didn't catch this. They caught me off guard. How do people catch you off guard? You're not praying. You're not praying. You have to pray. And God will show you all things. And he set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. He was trying to figure out a way, how can I get Daniel out of this? He was trying to find it out. How can I free Daniel? I need to deliver Daniel. Because if I throw Daniel in that den, man, I'm going to tear Daniel up. It's going through the king's mind. And he labored to the going down of the sun. This joker labored all day trying to figure out, how can I save Daniel? Here we go. Then these men assembled themselves unto the king and said unto the king, Know, O king, that the law of the Medes and the Persians is that no decree nor statute which the king established can be changed. And Nebuchadnezzar just changed one, didn't he?
Yeah.
Realize all the king's chronicles and everything are written down. Darius could have changed it if he wanted to. But for the fear of the people, y'all better hear me, because the fear of the people in leadership do certain things.
Because it's not the most popular decision.
It's not popular. See, Daniel stood out. He wasn't with the in crowd. He stood out. So they wanted to do him harm. They wanted Daniel gone. They didn't just want Daniel gone. They wanted Daniel dead. Because the lions are supposed to kill him. See, anytime someone lay a trap for you, they really land it for themselves. Keep this in mind. When someone wants to shut you up, the trap really isn't for you. It's for them. Because the same God that's going to deliver you will destroy them. Let's see what happens. After they assembled themselves and told the king, King, you can't change your word. It's a decree. Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel. Hear this. They brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Not one. They put him in the den. You gotta keep in mind, these lions don't eat that often. But they put him in the den. He wasn't attacked. He wasn't mauled. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, Keep, this is the prophetic word. Thy God, whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. How did the king know that? How did he know it?
Because they delivered the 3 boys. It's the same God.
It's not the same king.
No.
This is a different king. This is King Darius.
Oh.
This is not the same king.
But it's the same God.
Same God,
He knew of it.
not same king. All he knew is Daniel had an excellent spirit. All he knew was Daniel had served Nebuchadnezzar.
But he didn't hear
And Daniel
about
was choice. He was highly favored. So he said, hey, look, man, you pray 3 times a day. The God whom you serve, and see, the king knew what Daniel did. Daniel prayed every day 3 times a day. Daniel serves his God continually.
Yes.
How is it that nobody knows what you do? Folks don't even know. Some we got these secret service agent Christians running around here. Nobody even know they're Christians. Nobody even know they're Christians. But he said, he will deliver you. And they put the stone over the door, and they laid it up on the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his signet, which he sealed it with his ring. Then the king went into his palace and passed the night fasting. Wow, man, this king fasting. This king doing some stuff now, man. He's fasting.
Maybe he's a Secret Service.
This king fasting.
Yeah, that's how he knows.
Neither were instruments of music, bro. He said, I don't want no music. I don't want no food. And his sleep went away. He didn't want to go to sleep.
I think he was just...
Then the king arose very early
And
in the
we checked
morning.
in.
And he went in haste unto the den of lions, which means he ran.
Yeah, let me go.
Kings don't run.
Nowhere.
King don't supposed to run.
Take their time. They stroll. They don't even walk.
He ran to the den of the lions. Because if Daniel was alive, he could be set free. And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamented voice, which means he was weeping. This brother was weeping. Because what went through his mind? Daniel is dead. My number 1 man, the one I could trust, the one that's faithful, the one that never meant me any harm, dead. So he goes to the tomb crying. And he said unto Daniel, O Daniel, man, this is some good stuff, servant of the living God. Man, isn't it amazing how God moves on these kings just from being a servant? Servant of the living God is thy God, whom thou servest continually, able to deliver thee from the lions. He knew Daniel served God continually, but he didn't know if God was able. Then Daniel said unto the king, O king, live forever. My God hath sent his angels and hath shut the lion's mouth, that they have not hurt me, for as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before the king. Then the king was glad. He commanded Daniel to come out. No hurt was found on him, because he believed in his God. And then the king commanded, they brought those men that had accused him. Verse 24. And they cast him into the den of lions,